Imagine standing on the 18th green at Winged Foot, rain soaking your clothes, a rainbow arching across the sky behind you, and all you can think about is a man who isn't there. Davis Love III had just fired a final round 66. He led the field by 5 shots. Only 4 players in the entire tournament finished under par. By every measure, this was a dominant, commanding victory. And yet, the man holding the trophy was shaking. Not from exhaustion, not from nerves, but because the person he had spent his entire career trying to win this for was gone. This is the story of how a tragedy didn't break Davis Love III. It defined him. Davis Milton Love III was not simply born into a golf family. He was born into golf itself. His father, Davis Love Jr., was one of the most respected golf instructors in America, a man who spent his life studying the swing, filling notebooks with handwritten observations, and traveling the country teaching the game he loved. His mother was a low handicap golfer. The family home had clubs and wedges scattered across the living room floor. Before Davis could walk, he was already surrounded by the game. By the time he was 9 years old, his father had given him an unusual assignment: hit thousands of balls using only the left hand. No shortcuts, no exceptions. The goal was to build a pulling action so powerful, so deeply ingrained, that it would eventually become the foundation of one of the most beautiful swings the PGA Tour had ever seen. When Davis was 13, the family moved to St. Simons Island, Georgia. There, with unlimited time on the practice range alongside his father, Davis made a quiet but defining decision. He dropped hockey entirely. As he later recalled, "Forget hockey, I just want to get good at golf." He did exactly that and then some. When Davis Love III arrived on the PGA Tour as a rookie in 1986, he did not ease his way in quietly. He led the entire tour in driving distance, averaging 285.7 yards off the tee. That number meant nothing until you understood the context. The tour average that year was roughly 260 yards. Davis was hitting it 25 yards past almost everyone on the planet. To put that in modern terms, it would be like a player today averaging 340 yards while everyone else is stuck at 315. Even Greg Norman, one of the most powerful players of that era, could not believe what he was seeing. After playing alongside Davis at Muirfield, Norman said, "I remember I hit a pretty good one at Muirfield last year, then sat back and watched Davis fly me by 40 yards. What else can you say? The kid's got it." By 1994, Davis led the tour in driving distance again. And at Winged Foot in 1997, during the PGA Championship, he averaged 307 yards off the tee, ahead of both Tiger Woods at 298 and John Daly at 296. The longest hitter in golf, and he was only getting started. November 13, 1988. Started as an ordinary Sunday on St. Simons Island, Georgia. Davis Love Jr. had plans that evening. He and 2 fellow golf professionals, Jimmy Hodges and John Popa, were booked on a commercial flight to Tampa, heading to an annual Golf Digest School staff meeting at Innisbrook Resort. To save time, they arranged a short private charter flight from St. Simons to Jacksonville, where they would catch their connection. The plane was a small Piper Cherokee, 4 seats, a single engine. Before boarding, Davis Jr. did something his wife Penta never forgot. He had already said goodbye at the car, but then he stopped, turned around, walked back, and kissed her one more time. She would later write about that moment in the family memoir. "Although he had already kissed me goodbye, he came out of the plane and kissed me goodbye again. No one knows why he did it. He never got the chance to explain." The plane crashed into a pine forest short of Jacksonville Airport, descending through thick fog. There were no survivors. Davis Love III was 24 years old. His career had barely begun. His first tour win had come just the year before. He was on the road, competing at a tournament in Hawaii, when he received the news. The golf world lost one of its most beloved teachers that night. But Davis lost something no trophy could ever replace: his father, his instructor, and the one person whose opinion of his game mattered more than anyone else's. He later described what that loss did to him in words that were almost unbearably honest. "Golf changed for me when my father died. From that time on, some of the pure love and joy of the game went out of me. I was motivated to practice hard and to play hard to win. I wanted to win because of him. But I think it became just a little more work than it was before." When the news reached St. Simon's Island, a close friend named Bill Jones III cut short a business trip in Atlanta and drove straight back to be with Davis. He found him on the porch of his mother's house, and what he saw surprised him. Davis was not falling apart. He was calm, almost unnervingly so, not because he wasn't grieving, but because in that moment, something had already shifted inside him. He looked at Jones and said, "This is my responsibility now. I've got to take care of my mom, my brother. There's so much to do." Jones would later reflect. He recognized right away what his role was now that his father was gone. But carrying that responsibility on the golf course was a different matter entirely. For the next 2 years, Davis struggled. Missed cuts piled up. The effortless joy that had powered his swing since childhood was gone. He was still physically the longest hitter on tour, but length alone could not fill the silence his father had left behind. The turning point came in 1990, when Davis began working with coach Butch Harmon. Slowly, the swing came back. More importantly, something deeper came back with it, a reason to compete that belonged to Davis himself, not just to the memory of his father. It was not a dramatic overnight transformation. It was quiet, patient, and hard-earned. Exactly the kind of recovery his father would have respected most. By the early 1990s, Davis Love III had rediscovered himself. He won the Players' Championship in 1992, one of the most prestigious events outside the four majors. He climbed into the top 10 of the world rankings. He was winning regularly, competing consistently, and the golf world had no doubt he was built for major championship glory. And yet, every time the biggest stages arrived, something slipped away. The cruelest moment came at the US Open in 1996. Davis was in contention deep into the final round. Then, on the 17th hole, a pipe burst loudly nearby at the exact moment he began his swing. The shot fell apart. He could not recover. He reached the 18th, needing a long birdie to force a playoff. He misread the speed, left the first attempt 3 feet short, then missed that one too. Bogey, bogey, tournament over. What made it worse was that the trouble had started even earlier. On the very first hole that day, Davis and his caddy, his brother Mark, had miscalculated the yardage. Double bogey before the round had even found its rhythm. Davis later reflected with quiet honesty, "It was an unfortunate way to finish, and my caddy and I got a bad yardage on the first hole of that championship and made a double. So if you ask my brother one swing he would like to have over, it would be a yardage, not a swing." For years, the golf media built a narrative around Davis that he was too gentle, too kind, too lacking in the ruthless edge that major champions required. What that narrative missed entirely was the weight he had been carrying since 1988, a man still grieving, still searching, still trying to find a way to win for someone who was no longer watching. August 17, 1997, Winged Foot Golf Club, New York. The final round of the PGA Championship began under gray skies and steady rain. Davis Love III had led through 3 rounds. Now came the moment every golfer spends a lifetime preparing for and dreading. For most of that Sunday, Davis kept his emotions locked down tight. He was playing alongside his close friend Justin Leonard, who had won the British Open just weeks earlier. Davis later admitted that he had deliberately avoided looking at Leonard during the round because he felt almost guilty about how badly he wanted to beat him. He need not have worried. Davis played the round of his life. Hole by hole, he pulled away. By the time he reached the 18th fairway, the tournament was his. The rain had softened. The clouds were beginning to break. Leonard, who understood exactly what this moment meant, turned to his friend and said, "Go ahead, this is your moment." Davis walked up the fairway alone, and then the sky did something no script could have written. A rainbow appeared wide, clear, and impossible to ignore, arching directly over the course. In the television booth, broadcaster Jim Nantz immediately made the connection to Davis Love Jr., the beloved teacher and PGA professional who had lost his life 9 years earlier. Davis stood over his ball on the final green, knowing the tournament was already decided. He stroked it cleanly. It dropped. 9 years of grief, 9 years of carrying his father's absence into every round, every major, every near miss. In one moment, the weight lifted. He grabbed his visor and swung it through the air with a force that surprised everyone who knew him, including himself. As one reporter described it, it was a celebration so uncharacteristic, so raw and unguarded, that it belonged to a completely different man than the composed, quiet professional the tour had always known. Later, sitting alone in the locker room after the crowds had gone, Davis spoke with rare openness. "Nothing will ever replace the relationship I had with my dad, but I found my own reasons to love the game now." If 1997 was the moment Davis Love III found peace, the years that followed tested whether that peace could hold. In March 2020, before dawn on a Friday morning, Davis and his wife Robin were woken by their alarm system. Within minutes, their home on St. Simon's Island, 12,000 square feet, more than 20 years of memories, was completely engulfed in flames. By the time fire crews arrived, there was nothing left to save. Davis later described standing outside, watching it burn. "All we could do was stand there and watch. It was beyond awful." Almost everything was lost. Tournament trophies, memorabilia collected across 3 decades, the Ryder Cup replica from his captaincy, gone. But the one loss that cut deepest had nothing to do with his own career. Among the ashes was a crystal his father had won on April 9th, 1964, awarded for leading the Masters tournament after the first round. Davis later said, "The one piece I really want replaced is the crystal my father won on April 9th, 1964, for leading the Masters after the first round." His father's presence, it seemed, could be taken from him twice. And yet 5 years earlier, in August 2015, Davis had already proven that loss could not define his limits. At 51 years old, he won the Wyndham Championship, becoming the 3rd oldest winner in PGA Tour history. A grandfather competing against players young enough to be his sons and beating them. Some people slow down after tragedy. Davis Love III never learned how. 21 tour victories, 1 major championship, 2 Players' Championship titles, a World Golf Hall of Fame induction in 2017. On paper, that is the career of Davis Love III. But the people who know golf best will tell you that numbers have never been the point. Davis won every significant good character award the sport offers. The Bob Jones Award from the United States Golf Association in 2013, the Payne Stewart Award from the PGA Tour in 2008. He served on the PGA Tour Policy Board 4 separate times, not because he sought the role, but because his fellow players kept asking him back. As he once said with a laugh, "Every time I say, this is the last time, then they ask me to do it again, and I can't say no." But perhaps the moment that best captured who Davis Love III truly is came in 2017. That year, he failed to qualify for the US Open. So instead of watching from home, he picked up his son Drew's golf bag and walked the fairways as his caddy. Standing on the first tee at Erin Hills, watching his son be introduced to the gallery, Davis later reflected, "Caddying for my son and teeing off at 6:50 at Erin Hills Thursday morning, having starter Bob Ford send him off on the first hole that might top the rainbow." The rainbow at Winged Foot was about his father. That morning at Erin Hills was about his son. The Love family legacy carried forward one generation at a time. On April 12, 1964, Davis Love Jr. played the final round of the Masters tournament at Augusta. He did not win, but the next morning, his son was born. 33 years later, that son stood alone on the 18th green at Winged Foot, a rainbow overhead, a major championship secured, and a lifetime of grief finally, quietly released. Davis Love III never had the chance to show his father what he became. But everything he became was shaped by what his father gave him: the swing built on a practice range in Georgia, the philosophy that scores do not define a person's character, and the quiet belief that was whispered to him throughout his childhood: let's just see how good you can get. He never stopped trying to answer that question. A man shaped by grief, a career built on love, a legacy that outlasted every trophy he ever won. The tragedy did not break Davis Love III. It showed him and everyone watching exactly who he was: